It's not often I get out at lunchtime, but I've got to on this occasion because I need some bait. One of the things I talked about before is just kind of the way that you manage your fishing, and one thing I have to do obviously around my full-time job is to manage all aspects of just getting my kit and getting my bait and everything. And like I say, I mean, even living in a big city like I do, even just getting hold of bait can sometimes be a problem because whilst we've got, you know, a couple of decent tackle shops in our area, just getting to them within opening times and things can be an issue. So on this case, I'm just nipping out at lunchtime and going to a local tackle shop. It's called Billy Clark's. A lot of you will know it. I only really use 2 or 3 tackle shops, and this is one of them. So it's lunchtime. I'm just going to dash over there. It's about a 20-minute drive from where I am, so it's not exactly on the doorstep, but I'm going to race across there. It's Friday afternoon, and yeah, just going to get some bait for the weekend. Even got customer parking. I can't believe how busy it is in there. I was going to do a little bit of filming, but I'll do that on another occasion. So obviously the sun's out, it's the time of year now and a lot of the clubs are starting up, and I love to see tackle shops busy like that. It's fantastic. I'm going to get back in the traffic now, shoot back over to work. Meal deal. Well, I'm just racing back to the office now. It's Friday afternoon, so only a few more hours before it's the weekend. A couple more questions come in this week, so I'll do them now while I'm stuck in traffic. Dead maggots, how do you do them? There's so many different ways of doing them, and I've tried loads of different ways over the years, and I know that a lot of people do them in their own, you know, their own special way. One of the first ways I learned of doing it was the way that I read Will Raisin did it. This is probably 8 years ago. He basically puts the maggots in water, in cold water, and adds hot water to them slowly, so that, you know, the water gets to that, just that hot enough temperature that it kills the maggots, but obviously that makes sure that you're just not scalding them so that they lose their colour. That's the way that he was doing it then. I don't know if he still does that. Another way is to freeze them. That's probably the way that I've done most over the years, is just squeeze all the air out of the maggots like that in a nice bag, squeeze the air out, tie a knot in them so there's no more air in, and then just whack them in the freezer. You know, just doing that overnight will kill them for, you know, the night before a match. I don't like to keep them too long like that. After probably a couple of weeks, you find that they get kind of, I don't know the term for it, but they lose the colour because they've been frozen for so long. So I wouldn't recommend doing that as a long-term thing, you know, if you're going to do them in batches for weeks and weeks to come. But yeah, that's one way of killing them. But the way that I do them now is the way that Richard Vaughan, a good friend of mine, showed me and told me about, you know, a year or so ago. And basically all he does is squeeze the air out just like that and whack them in the fridge, not the freezer, in the fridge. And what they'll find is, as they, you know, they're not exposed to the air anymore, they slow down and they gradually become dormant. They obviously, because they're in the fridge, it's going to be cold, they just look as though they're dead basically, and they will stay like that for days and days and days and days. And all you do is, what you need to do then is, if you take them to the bank, once you open the bag and give air access to them, gradually, depending on how long they've been in the fridge, gradually they will come round and they'll just look fresh again and alive. But what you want to do is, if you want to keep them dead or in that dormant state, as soon as you open that bag, pop it in a bait box, put them in a bait box, cover them with water, and that's it. They will stay nice and soft and dormant. Obviously the water stops them drying out, but it just stops the air getting to them, and that's what brings them round, you see, so they'll stay in that same state. Great way of doing it, and that's the only way that I do it now. So that's a top tip from Richard, that one really. Another question being asked this week was really about spin-ups. When you're feeder fishing, you're fishing with double baits, how, you know, are there any little tricks or tips that you can recommend that stop your hook length spinning up, especially when you're speed fishing or, you know, fishing double baits? I don't do it very often with caster, I will be honest with you. Generally in Ireland seems to be the main place where I use caster on the hook, you know, but, you know, over in England, I don't really do it very often. It's mainly double red maggot, or double maggot should I say, or 2 pieces of worm, that sort of thing. With maggot, the best thing I can say with maggot is I just top and tail the maggots. You know, hook hook one of them through the fat end of the maggot and the other one through the point, and that can kind of counteract that sort of action when you're reeling in. Some lads will use swivels on the hook length. I'm not a big fan of that, but that's just a personal thing. I have tried it. I've tried it on numerous occasions, especially in Ireland, and I've suffered with missed bites. Maybe the rig that I've used it on hasn't been right, or the reason for the missed bites was something else. I don't know, but I don't use a swivel now. So with the maggots, just top and tail them. That can stop that happening. Another question was from somebody in Holland. Basically, it's just about managing your kit and your tackle and your bait and everything. It's a massive question, that one, and that's really why I'm doing this now on one of my little lunchtime recce's to the tackle shop. You've just got to try and be organised, you know. I mean, it's rare for me to go out for an hour at lunchtime, you know, to go and do something like this. You know, I am finding myself trying to do it more and more now, just to, you know, make the most of my time. But it's just about being organised. You know, if you can only have one trip to the tackle shop to get your bait and stuff, you really just want to do one trip. You know, you don't want to forget anything. So if you've got a tackle room or somewhere, a tackle bench or anything where you keep your kit and do your rigs and all that sort of stuff, just have a little board there or some kind of a memo pad or something. Just because when you spot something in your box, if you're short of your shots or you're short of hooks or line, you spot it, you can quickly write it down there and then, and that way you're not like trying to remember stuff, because there's nothing worse than doing something like I've just done to the tackle shop and get back to work knowing it's my last chance to go there before the match and find you've forgotten something. It's just trying to make it a lot more manageable and a lot more enjoyable as well. Another question that came in last night really was somebody who watched the video from the day one live match footage from the Larford Classic, was basically asking about the colour of corn. I actually used Tutti Frutti corn, the red, it's actually red in colour, the Bait Tech one, and somebody just kind of told me that they'd caught with it on Arena Lake, and that's really why I used it. I don't use it very often, I'll be honest with you. I know a lot of people that catch with red corn and flavoured corn, and I know a lot of people that have caught with it, especially some of the specimen lads and that. But in answer to that question, no, usually I would go for yellow. It's just, I think when you're fishing corn, I think it's the colour that's very important on most occasions. Yes, flavours work, but as a lot of you know, I haven't had chance and time, and I don't have the luxury to go out trying different flavours on the bankside because I just don't have the time to do it. So I generally stick with what I'm confident in, and that's yellow corn. The Scopex I've used quite a bit, or just natural, you know. But yeah, definitely, if you know, the key aspect for me with corn is the durability of it. It's very, very good. Stays on the hook well on a hair rig. You know, it's very robust. And it's the colour for me. I think a lot of, because corn is readily available, you can buy corn quite cheap from supermarkets. I think generally, you know, fish on, especially on commercial fisheries, see a lot of corn and it's usually yellow, and that's what they're used to because, you know, everybody can get hold of it basically, and it's easy to fish with. So for me, it has to be yellow. "56 minutes, did it." Gotta get back to work.